Hello, good people. My name is Kwame Enimapia. I am the expert instructor and the CEO of Kwaps Training, Networks Training Academy. We are an authorized Cisco Networking Academy. I also double as a lecturer in Columbia Technical University. And we also provide support and solutions for enterprises whose main operations are dependent on computer networks. We also provide a lot of training in CCNA, in cybersecurity, in DevNet. We have a wide variety of cutting-edge courses for people who want to make networking and ICT their career. Today, our discussion is going to be on the importance of network management and how it impacts on cost, revenue, and network availability. Now, wouldn't it have been nice if you just buy a bunch of networking equipment, wire it up, flip a switch, and voila, the network just works? You can turn off the lights and basically forget about it and simply enjoy the services that it provides. Kind of like an entertainment center or a living room. Well, although you might wish it were that simple, you can't quite get away with so little effort. A network is a complex structure that requires a great deal of attention. It must be carefully planned. Configurations of network devices must be modified without adversely affecting the rest of the network. Failures in the network do occur and need to be detected, diagnosed, and repaired. Service levels that are guaranteed to customers and users, for example, a certain amount of bandwidth need to be monitored and ensured. The rollout of services to customers and users, making service offerings available to them and turning up services quickly when they are requested must also be managed. Many telecommunications and internet service providers are finding that the communication services they offer, long distance telephone service, internet access, digital subscriber lines, are becoming commoditized. As a consequence, in many cases, not only the base offering itself determines success or failure in the marketplace, other factors are becoming increasingly important. And these important factors are questions like who can operate the network at the lowest cost and pass those cost savings on to customers? Who provides better customer experience by making it easy in order to communicate or in order to order communication services and service those orders with minimal turnaround time? Who can maintain the guarantee, the highest quality of service? And lastly, who can roll out services fast and efficiently? Similar factors apply to businesses and enterprises that run their own networks. Now, cost savings in operating the network benefits the enterprise that the network serves. Fast turnaround time to deploy new services and maintain high quality of services can translate into important competitive advantage. All these factors are ultimately economic success factors, and they are all intricately linked to network management. Therefore, network management is a key factor for the economics of running a network. The significance of network management to this regard cannot be overemphasized. Now, we provide a closer look at the benefits and effective network management and management tools and what they can provide at reduced cost, and then the improvement in the quality of service that the running a network simply as a network provider gives. Now, in some of the cases, we also use the term service provider to refer to the services that organizations provide over the network. Unless mentioned otherwise, we do not limit the use of the term to classical service providers, such as telecommunication carriers or internet service providers, but we include also enterprise IT organizations. After all, they provide communication services to the enterprise that they are part of. Cost. One of the main goals of a network management is to make operations more efficient and operators more productive. The ultimate goal is to reduce and minimize the cost or the total cost of ownership that is associated with the network. Now, the total cost of ownership consists essentially of equipment cost as well as the cost to operate the network. Now, equipment cost is typically amortized over several years to take into account the lifetime of the equipment. Now, as we move on, I will explain what amortization of cost really is. Then we can have a typical understanding of equipment amortization, so that anywhere in this presentation it is used, you have an understanding of the word. Now, operational costs includes costs such as operating personnel, electricity, physical space, the cost of the operations support infrastructure. Now, the cost savings that results from a lower total cost of ownership make the service provider more competitive for an economic perspective. In addition, the service provider can pass the cost savings on to its customers, thus making them more competitive. The expectation is that the network management can help accomplish this. So let's look at amortization. According to the Oxford Dictionary, amortization is the action or process of gradually writing off the initial cost of an asset. So you can say that due to the amortization of initial cost, the risk of negative working capital are mitigated. Now, another meaning, or the second meaning, is also that It is the action or process of reducing or paying off a debt with regular payment. And a better meaning is also that it's a period in which a debt is reduced or paid by regular payment. So when we talk about amortization, it's simply recouping the cost or the process of gradually writing off initial cost of an asset. So you make regular payments uh, of the debt or of the cost of an item until the cost is written off. That is the meaning of amortization. Now we want to look at the total cost of ownership. The operational cost has to do with people, electricity, physical space, operations, support, and infrastructure. Equipment costs are the lifetime amortization of over equipment lifetime. So to put all these things in perspective, the cost of operation can be higher than the cost of amortizing the network equipment in itself. In some cases, by as much as a factor of two or more. So to illustrate, assume for a moment that an equipment vendor charges $300 or $300,000 for a set of network devices which are amortized at 100,000 per year over 3 years. Assume furthermore that for a given service provider, the associated operational cost is an additional 200,000 US dollars annualized. From a service provider perspective, a competitor who manages to realize an operational efficiency gain, a 25% operational efficiency gain, will be capable of charging 50% more for equipment as a premium for its superior operations capabilities, or 150,000 US dollars instead of 100,000 at the same total cost of ownership. Now we want to look at some examples of how applications of network management tools can help increase operational efficiency at lower cost. Network testing and troubleshooting tools. Now, these tools help operators to identify and isolate problems and thereby shift themselves away for other tasks. So, automating troubleshooting for routine problems enables operational personnel to focus really on tough issues. Another thing or another example is that systems that facilitate tenure of services and automate provisioning. And most of these steps are required to enable a service for an end user. Fewer operational steps must be performed by an operator. Now, this also reduces the potential for human error. Performance reporting tools in network management and bottleneck analysis also enable the providers to allocate network resources to where they are needed most, minimizing the required investment in the network and maximizing the bang for the buck. Now, another cost of network management tools beside operator productivity is that Such tools potentially reduce the skill levels that is required to manage a network. Now, this reduces investment in training. It also increases a pool of qualified labor that is available, making hard to find skill sets, less of bottlenecks, and limiting factors in the service provider business. One of the most critical hurdles in operating a network, and therefore an incentive to increasing efficiency, that is, in many cases, might simply not be possible to hire and train sufficient number of skilled engineers. Now let's look at cost, the importance with respect to cost. Sorry, we want to look at quality. Other operational aspects are not related to cost but are equally important. One of such aspects concerns the quality of the communications and networking services that are provided. Now, this includes properties such as the bandwidth that is effectively available or the delay in the network, which in turn is a factor in the responsiveness a user experiences when using services over a network. Now, quality also includes the reliability and the availability of communication services. As an end user, can I rely on my service? Or do I need to often retransmit data because I experience interruptions in the middle of the communication session, such as timeouts and no responses from the remote end because of dropped communication sessions? Is the service always available when I need it? Or do I sometimes, in the case of voice service, get no dial tone? Availability is not simply nice to have. Lives can literally depend on it. For example, think of the ambulance service in a telephone network or connectivity for critical equipment in a hospital. Reliability and availability are attributes that are typically associated only with the network itself. Accordingly, and rightfully so, much emphasis is given to engineering networks in a way that makes them career class. This involves developing network equipment with redundant hardware so that if a component fails, a hot failover to a spare can occur. In addition, networks themselves are carefully engineered to allow for redundant communication paths. In many cases, ensuring network availability that is overall higher than the availability of any single element in the network. Intelligent capabilities are introduced to automatically reroute communication traffic around faults or fiber cuts. The list goes on and on and on and on. One aspect that is easily overlooked, however, is the fact that network management is also a key ingredient in this discussion or in this equation. So some of the examples are that systems for end-to-end provisioning of a service automates many of the steps that need to be performed to configure the devices in the network properly. Now, those systems help make operations not only more efficient, but less error prone as well, because they provide fewer opportunities to make mistakes. Misconfigurations, in which some devices or network parameters are not set up properly, result in lower network and service availability. They can be hard to troubleshoot and slow to fix. Through end-to-end provisioning, many of such misconfigurations can be avoided in the first place, providing an important contribution to increased network availability. The second example is that performance trend analysis can also help network managers to detect potential network bottlenecks and take preventive maintenance actions before problems occur and before services and users are negatively impacted. This can also help improve the level of service being delivered, such as the bandwidth that is effectively available to users or delay that is introduced in the network. The third example is that alarm correlation capabilities enable faster identification of the root cause of observed failures when they occur, minimizing the time for actual outages. Now, even more, it is difficult to quantify and the return of investment in network management with respect to quality. One possibility is to reconsider the opportunity cost. The cost of quality is not met, or if the cost of quality is not met. Examples of some of these opportunity costs are lost revenue for customers taking their business elsewhere if quality objectives are not met. Also, increased networking costs from inefficient utilization of networking resources, which potentially leads to more networking equipment and capacity being deployed to support a certain level of service that would otherwise be necessary. This results in higher equipment costs and a larger footprint. For example, space for all that equipment. And lastly, higher operational costs that is spent on fixing problems and having to monitor additional equipment that will be necessary to if quality would meet required levels of existing equipment were better utilized. Now we move on to revenue. Network management is not just related to cost and quality. Network management can also be a revenue enabler that opens a market opportunity that will not exist without it. Here are some of the examples. Service provisioning. Service provisioning systems enable service providers to reduce the time that elapses from the time a service is ordered to the time the service is actually turned up. The capability of turn up service quickly translates into quicker time to revenue generation. The management system that automates the complete workflow from ordering the service to turning it up obviously provides greater speed than workflows that involve human operators who need to key data into multiple systems redundantly along various steps of the way. Also, if a service cannot be provisioned and turned up quickly, a customer might decide to take his business elsewhere. In some cases, network management enables a service provider to augment a service offering with management-related capabilities that attract more customers. For example, to a customer, the capability to track accounting charges online and to configure service features over the web, examples of voice, caller ID, follow me services, and have them take effect immediately constitutes a valuable service feature. Lastly, cost savings made possible through network management might make certain services feasible in the first place. For instance, a new communication services for residential customers might not be feasible if it takes several hundreds of dollars in operational costs per subscriber just to turn up the service. Now, residential customers might not be willing to pay such amounts, and service providers might also not be willing to absorb them. This is what happened in the early days of the DSL service, for example. An efficient management system that reduces or eliminates track roles might be the prerequisite to economically offer a service in a place and open a whole new market. Now, a track rule refers to the need to send operation personnel to a customer site, which typically involves rolling track and is associated with high cost. So basically, we have been able to have a fair discussion on the importance of network management and their relations to cost, their relations to quality, and their relations to revenue. The next discussion we're going to have is going to be on the players, the different parties with an interest in network management. In the next video, we are going to discuss the network management users, the service provider, the enterprise IT department, the end user, and then we discuss the network management providers, the equipment vendor, the third-party application vendor, the systems integrator. And in subsequent videos, we are going to discuss network management complexities. And then we look at the technical challenges and the way forward. Thank you so much. I believe this discussion has been helpful or is going to be helpful is going to clear all doubts and give an insight for people who are learning computer networks, network management and monitoring. Thank you so much, and God be with you.